All right, so AfroHobbits 14. You think about it, Elon Musk is actually... Elon Musk was the AfroHobbit that we met along the way. The AfroHobbiting. Click the links to check out the subscribe star. There's videos up there, but it's also just an easy way to kind of support and also get connected for other stuff. So, Rings of Musk. The media attacks Elon Musk as if Middle Earth didn't have enough of a troll problem. Oh, you wit. Oh, sharp rapier wit. Elon Musk. Just shut the F up. The media is like, it's like all cat lady humor, and they never really catch on that they're not funny, but they think they're just like, I've got 900 subs on Twitter. Yeah, you're a media guy, and you've been in the media, you've been like on Twitter for like 6 years, and you got 900. Something's wrong, friend. If you're a known public figure and you have 900 followers on Twitter, that means you're boring. I'm not talking about if you're just some somebody who's using Twitter to have fun with. I mean, if you're in the public sphere, you're writing articles for a magazine, and you don't have any Twitter followers. You got less than like 30,000 followers. It's like something is very wrong with your writing. You're writing this. Like, it's this easily fungible writing. You could just swap these people out left and right, one for another. It's all exactly the same. They're not saying anything. Twitter is like the real. That's the you know how you want to judge like your social media account. You look at how much people are donating. That's the cold, hard, brutal truth. That tells you, that just right there tells you your worth is what are you getting on Patreon and Subscribe Star. It tells you how much entertainment you're bringing to people, or how much value in some way you're bringing to people. That's the cold, hard truth. You can't get around that. So, but for these people, these media people who work at, write for, I don't know, all these kind of Kotaku, Mary Sue type articles, you look at their Twitter and you're like, yeah, you don't have enough people following you. Something's wrong with this equation. And then you read their articles, you're like, you're just parodying the party line, what everyone else is saying. Anyway, so he made a pretty innocuous tweet. He said Tolkien is turning in his grave, which many people easily agree with. And then keep in mind, this is his follow-up. He goes, almost every male character so far is a coward, a jerk, or both. Only Galadriel? Why can't I pronounce that? Is brave, smart, and nice. Galadriel. Why I try to pronounce stuff when the camera is running, and it turns out to be actually more difficult. So that's what he said, and immediately it goes to deflection, ad hominem, and straw man by going into talking about the AfroHobbits, but he was referring to the portrayal of men and women. Now, here's the thing. I was thinking about all this stuff last night. Predator, the 1986 movie, I think, with Arnold Schwarzenegger and a bunch of other dudes who actually all went on to do great things. In that movie, you think it's just a simple dumb guys movie. It was filmed exquisitely. I mean, beyond the theme of the movie, the film work, cinematography is what I'm looking for. How the camera moved through the jungle. I mean, whoever was doing the cameras on that is just beautiful. Everyone in that movie was kick-ass. What modern Hollywood does now is they put people down to elevate the female character, the POC character. They did it in Rings of Power, where there's this sniveling, cowardly, malicious, fair-skinned person of the light. Light hair, light eyes is what I'm trying to say. And then the Afro elf comes up and has to be kind and stoic, and a purse puppy, a Mary Sue, where he's like, oh, obviously this is the superior character, and this poor groveling Englishman is just stupid and short-tempered. It's like, but refer back to Predators. Everyone in that movie was kick-ass, self-sacrificing. I mean, yeah, the movie's just a stupid movie. They have to get to the chopper and try to escape, but like, they were a team, and everyone was brave and just badass. They weren't all like big, tough, strong guys. Some had different skills, but they were all doing their part as a team. They didn't put anyone down to elevate the main character. Yes, obviously the main character escapes and fights the dragon at the end and wins and takes off the helicopter with the girl. Yeah. But to carry out the movie, all the other characters weren't these just sniveling, backbiting soy boys. Because in '86, that concept of like the participation trophy generation, that was before all that. These guys were, when they're in the movie, they're probably in their 20s, 30s, and 40s making the movie. So they're way before that kind of generation where people are proud soy boys. And like if you showed people in 1986, just normal guys in 1986, what guys would be like in 2022, they wouldn't believe it. They would think aliens had come down. I remember 1986. You would think aliens had come down and put this some kind of mass psychosis through the whole population of the West to turn these guys into like the proud soy boys that they are now. As who was the governor Ventura said, a bunch of slack-jawed bundles of sticks. Anyway, so Rings of Power media attacks Elon Musk for just telling the truth. He says that they're spinning in the grave, and the NPCs predictably respond like, programmed NPCs they are. Their favorite response is phobic, istophobicism. Some words YouTube frowns on, so I'll say istophobic. It's simple stimulus response. 1, globalist propaganda goes out in the world. 2, people predictably say it sucks because it sucks. It's like, this isn't, you just hate the AfroHobbits and the Afro-elves. Were they in the original story? Well, Tolkien described the Harfoots as brown. Yeah. Yes, there are plenty of European people who are described as brown. You have the spectrum from like wintertime Northern Europeans or Irish or something who are pretty fair, to the Mediterranean people who during the summer are going to be brown. That's how we describe brown people. We're not describing sub-Saharan African tones as brown. That's completely a whole different spectrum. It's like we're talking about within the spectrum of European skin tones. From my winter skin to my summer skin, I would describe my summer skin as brown. It's not like the modern SJWs seem to think the Harfoots are black. Now here's the thing. Not to leave people out of fantasy realm. If you really love fantasy, you go, hey, listen, gun to your head in the way of cold hard cash, and say, listen, could you write this story? Like to say, I say this with no hubris at all, because I'm not a great writer, but yes, go here. We're going to give you a few dollars to write Lord of the Rings. Could you put Afro-hobbits or Afro-elves, different characters, Indians, Africans, Asians, whatever you want, like an analogous to Earth. In the story. Absolutely. How do you do it? Well, you don't make them all one tribe. They have to be they have to be similar to how real world people evolve, where they come from far away. Like, okay, so you got these Afro-hobbit tribes, you just got to make up some new tribe. You can't take something that's already established. You just have to make something up new and go, okay, they came from the south, a warmer environment, because radiation, predictably you're going to need some protection from radiation, ionizing radiation, right? To go, so they teamed up with us to fight this new threat. Oh, okay, that's a simple explanation. Now, were they in the original story? No, but that's bending the rules. Like if you have to put non-European characters in the story, that's simply how you do it. Oh, these Russian characters, these Asian characters, they came from the East to team up to unify to fight this one threat, and then they go their separate ways afterwards. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, we should do that. You can't have them like in the interviews with these idiot actors go, oh no, we're all one tribe. So you're all one tribe, but you don't mate with each other and produce offspring, because within a few generations you'd all look the same. That's the kind of irony of this diversity concept, is if you mix people, you just create this third group that all looks exactly the same. That's like, to be diverse, you have to keep apart, which is probably a haram to say these days, but like that's just logical and true. A lot of the stuff you got to approach almost in an autistic manner. Anyway, so NPCs, we'll call all this stuff phobic. When dealing with NPCs, keep in mind, they are now, in 2022, they are the participation trophy generation. It kind of came from, I don't know, like mid-70s to the 80s when that started to creep in a little bit. And then, like on the West Coast, East Coast, on the West Coast, it creeped in earlier. In the center of the country, it took longer to catch on. But like the people you have nowadays, you look around at these people, when people go, oh, yeah, we need a war. You look at this stuff and you go like, ooh, I kind of see what you mean when people say that. So they're never taught to think their way through social situations, because they never have to have conflict and resolution themselves, because they always had, an adult, a teacher, to come step in and talk about their feelings. It's like, yeah, okay, but I mean, it would be better if you learned how to resolve conflict at some point on your own. I don't mean little kids should be left to fight endlessly, but at some point you have to kind of back off a little bit and let them talk their way through it. So their program for stimulus response, if a free thinker goes against the global, be careful here, homogenization agenda for digital mass deletion, genocide, they know they have to virtue signal for Twitter by calling these people all phobic. They never process the data. It's pure NPC behavior. Stimulus response, it bypasses the higher thought centers. A way to counter this is it's a step above this, is that it's not phobic, and then a step above that is to call it, you can call it anti-white hatred, which kind of confuses them, which is true, and they don't really have a response to that. But a step above that is to realize that all those istophobic terms are not real organic terms. They're control terms used by these global puppet masters to control the NPCs, who just like left-wing NPCs, they love centralized authority. They love to be told what to do. Even as it turns out right now, they're starting to learn, though you got to be careful with this on YouTube. They're starting to learn that they would have been better to be skeptics and asked to see. I'll leave it at that. Anyway, so I literally had a video removed and a strike on another channel for talking about this, the method that scientists use to go forward. Really, seriously, it's just as bizarre as it sounds like. Is that 1984? It's a private company. They can do whatever they want. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I mean, when they control 90% of the video discourse, it kind of makes me wonder, like, yeah, shouldn't our representatives get some free speech on this private company? Yeah. They're terrified. Here's the thing, left and right. Oh, it's those damn rhinos. No, buddy. Left and right, all our representatives do not want free speech. Once they're in power, the Republicans don't want free speech either, but that's another video. Anyway, so if someone isn't istophobic, it's simply not a real term. It's purely propaganda. Every time you hear it, you're hearing someone who's still in the globalist matrix. Don't accept the enemy's nomenclature. Don't play by their rules. And yes, they are the enemy. They are removing you from history, from movies, and in other ways, they're dehumanizing you. Where do you think this goes? What is the logical conclusion to this? It's weird that they hate the Englishmen so much, but then they have to steal their stories. I wonder why they just don't create their own culture, write their own epics, instead of just stealing the Englishmen's stories. And it's, yeah, the the UK, I'll give it to the UK. I'll say the UK wrote a lot of good stories, Irish, Scotland, Wales, all those other kind of, you can't even make a joke about them anymore on YouTube, because YouTube will just apply it as a incitement to not be nice. Or on Bit Chute, you'll get your channel banned in Europe. All of Europe and Iceland and Greenland too. It's freaking bizarre, because they're pussies basically. Like if you're scared of free speech, then you're a very bad person, and you're very dangerous. Anyone who wants to silence free speech yes, they're the enemies. They're very, very dangerous people. When dealing with NPCs, be gentle with them. Be the adult in the room. There's these two people arguing, and one is flailing around like a child, screaming. The other person is calm and not giving a lot of body language, just calm and reasonable, soft-spoken. And people can look at that and go, okay, well, I know one person is the adult in the room and the other person is not in control of their emotions. Introduce them to the idea that they might be brainwashed by a lifetime of mainstream media and cat-lady Marxist critical theory Frankfurt School propaganda. It never occurs to them that since they are in accordance with everything from Soros, Chase Bank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Schwab, Rothschild, CNN, MSNBC, and every major corporation, that they might be the brainwashed NPCs. And I mentioned those banks for a reason. They have a history of deplatforming people for free speech. That they are actually raging for the machines. When they worked with Twitter and the FBI to arrest 1,000 unarmed protesters, they had an insurrection. Well, usually when people have an insurrection, they're going to be armed with rifles and, uniformed and have interchangeable magazines. Like soldiers, you've got rifles, interchangeable mags. It's not an insurrection if there weren't 1,000 armed people. That doesn't make any sense. You're saying the media lied to me? That's impossible. If the media was lying, they would have told me oh, yeah. Eventually, you know what? Eventually, you on the left to libertarian, and eventually you'll come to the right. You kind of got no choice. When I saw that Twitter people working with the FBI to track down the protesters, the people who were literally speaking truth to power, the peaceful protesters, when they were working with the left wing, was working with the FBI to arrest those people, I knew the left wing was completely dead and gone. This is the new corporate left, where Antifa is paid by Soros and Schwab and subverted by the bank Occupy Wall Street. 10 years later, supported by Wells Fargo, Chase Bank, Bank of America. Literally $1 billion from Soros. It's not from Soros. Okay, it's from Company A, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Company B, which is funded in large part by Soros Corporation. Okay, it's owned by Soros. You got me there. You got me there, sir. I concede this battle. If you're lockstep in accord with the mainstream media narrative, you're not the rebels. You're the bad guys. We're the rebels. Oh, you should leave the planet. Elon Musk, drive your Tesla to Mars. Oh, pussies. God, these people are just... Hey, Renfmus. She's funny. She's funny, but was she the one who wanted to water hose the BLT people? It's like, I hear that and I go, oh, she's joking. It's like, not, and like, obviously I'm not on her side, but you can read that. Most people go, oh yeah, that's just a joke. She wants to fire hose the BLT people. That's a joke. It's just a joke, reference to the 60s and the police stuff in the 60s. That's a joke. Not everything has to be so seriously, but when you need to virtue signal on Twitter, then yes, everything has to be serious, because you need those dopamine pats on the back on Twitter. Twitter is really cancerous. Gab, I'm having so much fun on Gab. Honestly, I think I'm going to be put on a hit list if I continue on Gab too much longer. So Antifa burns down small businesses so that wealthy banks and politicians can buy up depressed properties. Literally, they did that. I'm not just making that up. Or they shot a guy in a truck who's, they block off an intersection. Some guy's trying to go to work because he's a fair-skinned person of the light. So they think that he's their oppressor. He's the electrician trying to go to work, just taking part in normal society. It's like, yeah, that guy's your oppressor. The plumber, the electrician, the tile guy. Yeah, those are your oppressors, because they're wearing ball caps and sunglasses, and they're just fair-skinned people driving work trucks. Yeah, that's really your oppressor, not the guy who owns the bank or the NGO media corporations that are manipulating the narrative. No. It's the English German guy whose parents came 100 years ago, and he's got a plumbing business. He's actually the oppressor. They don't go after politicians or heads of media or bankers. They burn small businesses and march through residential neighborhoods. Really strange. Do any of them ever wonder if they're being manipulated? They are the useful idiots for the puppet masters. The guys with the stars and bars literally are the rebels going against the mainstream propaganda. People watching banned videos, listening to music not on the radio, reading banned books that are not on Amazon or in any mainstream bookstore. You can get all that stuff on Telegram and on Gab. There's I think Antelope Press, and there's like 3 publishers that have started to come out and started to try to get these banned books to people. On Telegram, Gab, Odyssey, World Truth Video, and a couple others I probably can't even mention on Google Tube. We're on them, and we're making the media that Reuters, who founded Reuters again, is trying to censor. Literally, they go, first we need to censor Bit Chute because it's saying things that kind of crack holes in our narrative. No, now Odyssey's come along. We got to censor Odyssey. It's like, you guys just are authoritarians. You're the bad guys all along. If you want to censor alternative viewpoints, it's like, so the media is trying to censor the media. Oh, they're not the real media because they disagree with us. Yeah, isn't that the point of the media, the open marketplace of ideas? Oh, yeah, the media is not the media anymore. They're the authoritarians. We get kicked out of banks and social media. Antifa is literally funded by the banks. The funniest thing, I've seen this video a couple times, different versions of it, is when independent media will go up and interview, like Durst the Worst will do things. I think it was a Durst the Worst video where he interviews people at events, and some lefty female will come up, a handler will come up and try to get the people not to talk to the independent media. Some of the NPCs obey their masters, but others, tell them that, hey, I remember it was a black guy who was being told by this lefty chick, we don't talk to the media. We have like our media representatives talk to me. He's like, I'm very capable of speaking to an adult without a chaperone. Thank you. And she kind of like wringed her hands and stood around, and she didn't know what to do. So finally she walked away and tried to get someone else to talk to him. It's like, these two white chicks are trying to get this black guy not to talk to Durst the Worst to do an interview, and the black guy's like, "Yeah, I'm okay. I can talk. I can. I don't need someone speaking for me. This isn't. What's that movie where what's that book where Charles Swift? I think the guy goes to the island and everyone's the flappers. You know what I'm talking about. Now I can't remember the name of that book. The guy goes to the island and it's like all small people, and then he goes to the island and it's all big people or something. Whatever. I remember that video. I think it was Durst the Worst. He goes, "Yeah, I don't need some. I can speak for myself. I don't need some lefty liberal chick to come over and like put words in my mouth. I'm an adult speaking to independent media," and that confused him. Like if you're a POC and you're a free thinker, like your mind is free, you're probably enemy number one to these. In fact, yeah, you are more dangerous than someone who's like waving a crooked cross flag or stars and bars flag, because that's the expected person. But if you're like a black Christian nationalist or just a based POC person who's thinking for themselves, you violate the nature. It's kind of why who's that guy who's making that comic book? Oh God, Ripa. He's making this comic book, and it's like, he says it's not going to be woke, and you saw how triggered they got by just a real, he just goes, "I'm just tired of this woke narrative. These comics are just going to be, fun comics." And it's like you saw how they tried to destroy him because he's going against the narrative. Anyway, so watching lefty women tell POCs who they should talk to, that's peak lefty female moment. And most of those, most POCs tell the women to just go F off, where most of the non-POCs in the audience who are on the left in those crowds obey their masters, which is kind of a weird hierarchy. I don't know exactly what's going on with that. So I know this seems kind of all over the place, but the thing is, you don't get rings of power without an ocean of propaganda for it to flourish. Twitter calling people phobic is just NPCs programmed to enforce the puppet master's narrative. If you reject globalism, which technically just means for the European people, the Arabs, Asians, Africans are not opening their pathways. It's only seems to be one way. It's odd. Japan, Israel, China, Middle East don't value diversity. It's really only the West. Only the West values it. Strange. So if you reject the Matrix, then they call you istophobic. But I'm rejecting the whole concept of all those phobic terms. They're manipulation terms that people that put Scientologists to shame. If someone uses those terms just to explain to them that they are brainwashed by a life of globalist propaganda, because it's hard for them to counter it without pausing to think about it, they are in accord with a lifetime of critical theory Marxist schools in media. We're not. We raise our flags and reject the mainstream globalist narrative. They told you to hate us without thinking about why. I don't hate them. I want to show them banned books, movies, and listen to speakers that have been deplatformed. Antifa is on Twitter. We're on Gab, Odyssey, Xing, World Truth Video, because we're not allowed by the puppet masters on the mainstream. We're the rebels. We've been the rebels the whole time. If you're lockstep in accordance with the mainstream billion-dollar companies, you're not the rebels anymore. We're raging for the machine. Yeah, we know. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys. I'm screen recording this. I don't know how to turn it off. I'll see you guys all next episode.